Welcome to SCC Supporter Square, the show for fans, by fans, and about fans. Here are your hosts, Mark Suppin and Matt Warman. Welcome, Orange and Blue Nation. I am your host, Matt Warman. Sadly, Mark Suppin suffered a knock during warm-ups, so we had to call up our third string, our second string, our next man up, as we'd like to say, Andrew McCormick. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing fantastic. Always happy to be next man up over Mr. Sutphin. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well, and I'm doing well because I have great news. We won. We actually won, and it actually looked good. There was a lot of things to be excited about, at least for a half, but I'll take it. And that kind of hopefully brings some momentum into a very big game coming up this week. So, the recap, we only had one game this week. That's the key part, and that was a home game. Um, the revenge match against I want to say Toronto Red Bulls, the New York Red Bulls, the New Jersey Red Bulls, as we know. Um, that was a phenomenal first half. A phenomenal first half. What were your thoughts on last Saturday's home game?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. It was cathartic. It was very much needed. I mean, the last time that we saw that team, 4-2 thumping up there in New Jersey, they come down, see us again, 3 weeks later, and hey, the two nil win, the clean sheet, you pull it off with a ragtag team of unlikely defenders, I guess, and I mean, it was fantastic. There's a lot of positive to take away from that experience on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. We had a 6 goal loss with Robinson in there. We've had 4 goal losses with Robinson and Miazga, and so we're playing without both of them and Haglin and Hidebe. I mean, so it's our stop top 4 defenders, and I guess our fifth defender would probably be Alvis Powell, and he's out too. So we're putting the things together. I mean, if you were to, I am not a betting man, but if you were to bet a clean sheet with that back line, given that we have on paper stronger back lines giving up goals, and we just gave up 4 goals to this team at their place. I would have not have picked a clean sheet. I might have picked a victory, but I would not have picked a clean sheet. So that's pretty amazing. Um, I thought that was the first half was probably the best half since Atlanta. Um, I felt like there was some real excitement. It seemed like they were feeding off the crowd. It was good to have them play well in front of the home fans. I can't remember the last time they played really well in front of the home fans because people have been kind of meh to on this team this year. How was your feelings watching that first half?
I mean,
Being
my feelings are always incredible. There in the stadium, especially doing the capo work. It's hard to have a bad time capoing, at least for myself. But the way that team was playing, it was just an incredible vibe there in the stadium. The fans were feeling it. I mean, you know, they could feel something was really building. Maybe that's just a natural swing when you go in with the lowered expectations that we had upon seeing that lineup to start off. But nah, the energy was incredible, and they were doing well on the field, and 25,513 individuals, give or take, responded appropriately from their seats. Hopefully, that gives us some good vibes to build upon going into future games. Maybe get a little bit of our mojo back.
uh, the coaching staff did an amazing job in that game. They know and it's gonna. I think it's gonna carry into the Chicago game, and I'll explain here in a sec. Here is that both of those teams are pressing teams. They like to press all the time, early, often, and always. And they had system where they knew where we were just going to go up one wing or the other, and they were kind of overloading that one wing. So we try to we usually progress to a certain piece and then kick it back and then kick it back and then kick the ball back and give it to the other team. I never understood that whole thing. But with this game, they decided to go up a wing, have them overlap, and at the earliest early, like right or just before midfield, switch with a long ball across. Right, so since everybody's overloaded because they know where the passing is, whether they're trying to cover the guys behind them on the side and the front, you just hit that long ball off to the side. Buka had oodles of space to do what he needed to do, and that really threw them off and had to pull them back. They did that 4 or 5 times. Both of the goals that we got in the first half was really led because we went up the left side of the pitch, switched it to the right side of the pitch, and Buka or Evander did their magic, and interesting things happen. Right when you have a one-on-one with a defender, and all you have to do is shake and bake him enough to get the cross. That's what we did the first time, or make him look silly and make him kick you in the back of the heels in the box, which was the second goal. That's what
Yeah.
you get. That was just kind of magical. You could see that they followed what was going on all week. They saw what was going on. They saw the press, and that's the great way to break the press. Is to hit it somewhat over the top, but not all the way to the keeper, just over to an open area on the other side of the pitch where they're not even set up. And now it's a foot race. That was brilliant. I thought it was really good strategy. The second half, I think they played it a little more neutral and got a little more back into the game in the second half. Um, what was your thoughts on the second half of that match?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any big takes, big takeaways rather on the second half. As as I'll always say, I don't always get the best look at the action from my perspective. But things simmered down, and that's relatively typical of what we come to expect from Pat Noonan. That you get that 2 goal lead, and especially with the back line we had, you kind of just maybe settle in a little bit more and try to protect that lead. I mean, if they weren't doing that, then I'm open to hearing it because again, I didn't really get a great look at it. That's just kind of what I'm assuming happened, but. Ultimately, I mean, being able to deny them from even breaking the clean sheet is a marvelous piece of work from that team. And yeah, I mean, the Red Bulls, they are who they are. I don't think that they're necessarily a stellar team this year, but in any sport, in any league with soccer, Major League Soccer especially, being able to hold that lead, hold that clean sheet, through the second half is, definitely can't be stated enough how incredible that is, especially when you have, a guy like, Andre Sharilla going for 90 minutes. Love to see that from the young guy.
He did so well that they actually signed him to a homegrown contract. I think they know they he was definitely in their plans, and honestly, I thought it was going to be his older brother that would break out at some point. He had the Golden Boot in the MLS next, and he looked like the heir apparent. And Evander is playing well, and Dado is Dado, so he's got kind of got a log jam. And you think, well, okay, so you got a 17-year-old you're putting back there. What's he going to do? Well, he scored a goal in his first start for a draw at NYCFC, which was a brilliant goal. I haven't seen a goal not from a corner kick or set piece from a center back just in run of play, and I don't know how long. And have that addition, that's like a Yerson Mosquera type of thing where, yeah, he could score. He's a center back, but he could score from pretty much anywhere if you give him the chance.
Hmm.
And he's only 17. You go from what I was saying is yikes to okay, well maybe we don't need to rush these guys back because he seems to have an it factor. He's still trying to figure some things out, I believe he contributed to not playing the ball right. 17-year-olds are going to do that, which led to a good shot, which ended up going into the back of the net for, I think it was NYC. But he's going to learn, and the only way you learn at this level is to play. And as long as you're not giving up 2 goals a game, I say you do that. I think his play has been outstanding, and I think that's where the panic has kind of subsided a little bit, at least in my view. So, what's your view? Because you get a really close view of Chirilla. What's your thought on that?
I mean, like I said, I think that you gotta love what he's done so far. And again, in that New York City game, he led to a goal being scored, but you're gonna have that. From what I've seen of him, very similar to what you were saying. There's instances where, you watch the tape or you watch him, play live and you can see where, he's got some work to do. But again, he's 17 years old and he's, gone out and he's been the star of the show as far as I'm concerned, danky brace notwithstanding. But, you know, the 17-year-old has been, the star of the show the last two matches that we've had. And it starts to beg the question, do you keep him out there when you have some other healthy guys? Probably not a starter when you have Haglin, Robinson, Miazga, but he started back there when Gilberto, sorry, pardon my tongue tie there, when Gilberto Flores, he didn't start in that match on Saturday. Chirilla started over top of him. So, suddenly do you have a new, first center off the bench in this guy? You'd love to see it.
I think he's got speed, and if you got somebody like a Miazga saying, "I need you here, I need you here, watch for this," I'm sure he's learning that on the training pitch. But to have an experienced person like that, or Robinson kind of directing him, because Robinson is beginning to uh, he's been relying on Miazga to be the vocal leader when Miazga was out. Now he's learning how to become the vocal leader, and you've got a young player like that. Flores is 21. Chirilla is 17. We have some. We're not relying on him now, but we're like in 2 years, Miazga could be retired, and we're not going to worry about it because now we have somebody like in Chirilla. His brother, like I said, what got the Golden Boot in MLS next. Now he's 17. He went from people talking about him, in the shadows and about things to he's probably going to be on the U18 World Cup team.
Yeah.
I think he's secured that, and everybody's now after seeing him play just 2 games, everybody went, "Oh, okay, yeah, he's not just playing against MLS 2 competition. He's playing against some, I'm sorry, the Red Bulls were top five. They've dropped down a little bit,
Mhm.
uh, and they did that. So I mean, it's one of the few games where we don't. I can't remember the last time we had 60% possession in a half. That was
Yeah.
amazing. That's just that how dominant they were. And then the second half, everything flipped. We went from
Yeah.
60% possession to 40% possession, and it looked like we were holding on. It seemed to me like that last 10 minutes, I just wanted it. I think the whole crowd wanted this. You would probably know. But with 10 minutes to go, I was very nervous. We had a 2 goal lead. It's not that I thought we'd lose the lead, but if you give up a goal with 10 minutes to play, who knows what's going on? I didn't want to
Hmm.
give them any hope, and I wanted to have finally a clean sheet to do that. How did you feel that last 10, 15 minutes of the match?
Stressed, a bit stressed because you could feel that they were advancing, that they were progressing. It felt like a goal may leak at any given moment. But it's hard to be. I mean, I agree with your point that if you do give up that goal, you have 10 minutes to play, then anything, it all can happen. But you feel comfortable with that two-goal lead, and it ties back into what we were saying last week on the show. Saying that we wanted FC Cincinnati to go out, be aggressive, get the lead, work from there. And that's exactly what they did. They got the lead. They managed to get a two-goal lead, and from there you feel a lot more confident in what Noonan's squad out there on the pitch can handle because historically have not been too great chasing a goal. But you look back at the last couple of years, they've played pretty well when they're just trying to hold it down, and that's worked for them, and it worked this past weekend.
Last year, we'd get out on the front foot and then park the bus, grind it, lose interest. I'm not exactly sure, but we had a lot of one goal victories. And this year, we're not getting those. We are fighting for ties. We've had red cards and all kinds of weird stuff. But to me, and that's the other thing, is that we had such a good 45 minutes. This team showed you in that first half, if they could put that together for 90 minutes and then 2 games and then 3 games, now teams are going, okay, what do we do? How do we adjust? We can't press these people. They've got an idea of what to do. They're playing more fluid. Um, that's where we need to be. It was only the third time this year that we were on the front foot at any time. And the only other time that I remember that was Atlanta, because that was also a 2-0 victory.
Hmm.
I got one more thing about the game before we move on about what you do. So watching the Echeniche, oh my goodness, like I could speak. The Ender breakaway, it was right in front of you, literally right in front of you. Was that a penalty that didn't get called? And you could be homer or not, but you were there. What are your thoughts on that no call?
Yeah, that's speaking of previous episodes, pro referees still got it out for us because that was a penalty, my man. That was a penalty. It looked like one from the Bailey. It looked like one when I saw the replay on TV. It's looked like it every time I've seen discourse about it on social media. That was a penalty through and through. You cannot convince me otherwise, and I cannot believe that it wasn't called. It's they. I don't know if this was said by pro referees post game, but it's the narrative that I saw, being pushed as to why it wasn't called, saying, well, he got the ball and Ender just tripped. No, you watch that replay, stomped on his foot, man. He brought him down. That's
It,
insanity to not call that. And the VAR chants coming from the Bailey, they have never been more true than that moment right there. Because yeah, we get a little antsy sometimes. You boo the ref, you have a shout for VAR, and it's not always entirely accurate. You're going to be homers and biased, but that one right there, that was garbage from pro refs. They could not have been more blind on how they handled that situation.
Go back and watch the replay. Watch the ball. You can watch him kick him in the side of the foot all day. But when he's dribbling by and then he goes down, the ball does not move from its trajectory. It's going straight in a straight line, and then he goes down. The ball is still going in a straight line. If he touched the ball, even just nicked the ball, it would have moved a little bit. It just rolls straight. That's
Yeah,
all you need to know. I mean, yeah, he got ball, and yet he didn't get enough ball to adjust the trajectory. Come on, come on.
yeah,
You know how I feel about pro refs, so I don't need to get into any more of this. I think we've talked about this before, but I want to bring this up again because we banty the word capo, and it is capo, not capo, which is what you put on a guitar. It is a capo. Tell us what a capo is and walk us through a couple of minutes of what your day is like on a home match day as a capo from early in the morning, because I know you do some things at the stadium, to the march to game day itself. So what is a capo and what does your day look like?
yeah. So, I mean, in a broad sense, a capo is recognized as someone who helps to lead that supporters' energy in the supporters section at the games. In some instances, you would see capos be an umbrella that would include the people shouting into a megaphone, the people drumming, playing horns, even people waving flags. You get down into the nitty gritty. we distinguish that, and I think most organizations do. Where the capo specifically is someone who is, hollering the chants through a megaphone and trying to guide people, try to help shape the energy and keep people on track with what the rest of the section is doing. It's an incredible role to be in, and always feel obligated to say we do not get paid to do it. We pay for our tickets and volunteer to do it, and it's for the love of it. You'd have to be insane to hate the job and turn your back on the field and focus on the crowd the whole time, but we love to do it. Regular match day for me, and I've got some other responsibilities. If you're unfamiliar, the Knights of the Bailey is the group in which we have all the drummers, the capos, the flag bearers, the operations folks. There's an entire segment of operational folks that they don't do any of that stuff, and they don't get a lot of the recognition that they deserve. But they set things up, behind the scenes, and I'm involved, in some capacity with that. As far as on a match day, I normally get down to the stadium sometime in the morning or close to noon. This is assuming that it's a 7:30 kick. All this obviously gets moved up if it's a 1 o'clock game or something. But get down there early. We've got folks who go down. They start setting up those banners that you see hung up in the Bailey, up at the top and down on the railings and down on the capo stands at the bottom. People who set flags out. People who obviously have to set up the drums and other equipment. I personally go down and I help set up. We have an audio system that we use specifically for the capos, where the capos you'll see us wearing earbuds during a game, and that's because we have a communication system that the lead capo who takes the chance that we're going to do and kind of works there in the middle of the Bailey. He speaks into a microphone, puts that into our ears so that we know where we are supposed to be and what we're doing and can communicate. And I help set that system up. Beyond that, I go from the stadium and just hang out with supporters, down in over the Rhine for most of the day. And you'll normally see me. Many of you that I know that watch this will see me at various locations across over the Rhine, Holiday Spirits, Dueling Axes, and being in Brigade. Obviously, find my way down to Sam Adams for the majority of it. And as I go, try to help spread the match day cheer. Do some chants and hang out with some folks that goes on for a while, and multiple adult beverages, and leads into the march that we all know and love, which obviously led by drummers and capos, and all the way down through OTR into Washington Park into the stadium, and then the meat of it all being down there in TQL Stadium, down to the capo stands, or like I said, we've got you know individuals that work up in the center of the Bailey, and that's where all the fun is. That's feeling the energy of the stadium, trying to keep that energy moving through different chants, and you know trying to help people stay on track with what we're doing, so we can have you know 3,000 strong in the Bailey, all as one unified voice going. Uh, ideally, as we grow, pushing a little further out of the Bailey, as people learn the words, and we have retired capos such as you once were, and helping to spread the good word of Gary into further corners of the stadium. But it's a lot of fun. I love doing it, and it's a great way. It's a great way to celebrate FC Cincinnati, and try to help grow the atmosphere that we all know and love and enjoy. And I don't know when I could ever see myself stop doing it, honestly.
Well, so you missed one other thing, right? So when the match ends, you still have some things to do. So how long do you stay in the stadium after the match ends? Let's just say we win, like Saturday. So they take down the nets, and the players start congregating over to your area, which is like probably like 5 minutes after the game, and then they salute you. But what do you do after that?
Yeah, so assuming a win, which we've seen a lot of recently, yeah, it's the players will, they'll do their salute there, the raised hands there in the center of the field, and they'll come up and be talking to people in the Bailey or further on in the bottom of other sections, and we try to keep some chants going because we love to celebrate the players. We love to celebrate those guys, especially coming off of a good result like we saw Saturday. So that keeps going as the stadium starts to empty out a little bit, and then obviously the equipment can't stay out there, so you hang out and break that down, try to get that all boxed up, put into carts, put away. Banners have to come down, flags have to go back in the bins. uh, you know, I'll usually find myself there, hanging out and doing stuff until most people are probably sitting back on their couch at home. Stadium will be empty, and they're ushering us out the door. That's
Probably after 10
really,
o'clock on a
helping
7:30,
create that
probably
experience.
10:30, 11.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
been in the Bailey and stayed and helped and did that. But so for those of you who are watching, particularly if you're a casual, and you're like, well, I've seen Andrew's picture on social media, or I saw his picture on a billboard. I could do that. The sha la la. That's easy enough. I can chant into a to a megaphone and be on a billboard as I there during the week as I drive to my regular work. A capo works from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on game day, and has a lot of things to do in between just to keep things going. So if you're like, well, I show up at 4 or 5 or 6, and maybe have a beverage and casually walk. I won't even do the march. I'll just casually walk to my seat and kind of hang out and watch the game, and then head out as soon as the game is over, and maybe I'll go have some other fun somewhere else, or maybe I go home. That's not what a capo does. It's a lot of work, particularly for home days. There's a lot of coordination. There's as in any organization, there's a lot of politics. So you have a lot of things going on that you have to deal with, and I appreciate that. And I just wanted to make sure that we've talked about it before, but it's still there as a capo, what that means and what that means to you. Because you're like, I don't mind doing 12-hour days after working a full-time job and not getting paid 17 times a year, and maybe more because we have playoffs to do this, and it's cold or it's hot or it's wet. All of these things are in play. So make sure when you see your capo, don't be jealous because you see him on a billboard. Go, that dude works hard to get that. That's his really only his perk is that he does that. Uh, Otherwise, and I don't even think you think about that, right? You don't think about where you are on a billboard or any of that stuff. You do it because you love doing it. You love
If I'm
leading
on
and
a billboard,
chanting.
it's news to me.
Well, I just remember the a social media post where you once didn't wear
Oh
your
yeah.
your blue Gary shirt, and we lost, and they blamed the loss on you. And you still wear it now. At some point you're gonna not wear it because it's gonna get old.
Right. Yeah,
He's just gonna go
that certainly
shirtless. He's
seen
gonna be
better days.
Hulk.
Oh
Oh,
goodness.
Hulk, and just go. Ah.
Yeah.
And he's got other things as well. So before we head out, let's have a quick preview because it's a very big game. So there are 5 teams tied at 12 points in the Eastern Conference. I think it looks like the Supporters Shield is, if I look at it right now. So don't even look at whether we had more points or not. I think the top seed in the West has 27 points. The top seed in the East has 22. I think they're more lopsided in the West. I think there's a lot more quality teams. I think Nashville is going to be a quality team. We're talking about the Pink Flamingos, they're always going to be around. It looks like that team up north has gotten their act together, but we're playing the third place team who's got 17 points. We're at 12. We're only 5 behind. A win there makes it huge. That's a huge difference. We get out of the log jam, and whoever doesn't come along with us uh, gets left behind. So don't worry
Mhm.
about positioning now. It looks like we're beginning to whip ourselves into shape, and we're beginning to figure out what we're trying to do. It's still too early. I mean, we could really lay an egg in Chicago, but that being said, and a team who plays very similar to the Red Bulls, and uh, like I said last week, if we had 5 more minutes, I think we could have beaten that team,
Mm.
even with a red card. What are your thoughts on this Saturday's game in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, the last time we talked about playing Chicago, I was a little bit pessimistic on them. I didn't like their chances all that much, and they came out of that with a draw. And as you said, the way they were looking, 5 more minutes, that very well, may have been 3 points on the board. Um, Going into the Saturday, visiting Chicago, I still like our chances. I think Saturday feels like maybe we found something. Maybe we found something that works here. A style of play that works for us. And yeah, I'll be the homer. I'll say, I think we go into Chicago and we put our stamp on this thing. Say, hey, you're all on notice. FC Cincinnati back in action. I mean, I feel like we go out there and come away with 3 points on them, especially with the back line looks to be getting healthier. I saw that I believe Miazga and Hagland were back in training, so love to see that. You get a healthy squad out there, avoid any red cards, and I like our chances at coming away with it. They were, I think we had them pretty well matched the last time we played them.
It's been, like I said, a very interesting season. Last season, we had large portions where we couldn't score, or we didn't look like we had any kind of creativeness to score. Evander looked kind of lifeless, and after Denke with a hot start, also kind of fell by the wayside. Uh, I think Evander is finally healthy. I think it takes longer than you think. Right, it's 3 weeks to play, but it's probably another 5 to 6 weeks before you're there. Um, it's Naperville native. Hopefully, he's got a lot of people there. I was there last year. I can tell you that their Bailey is a quarter of the size of our Bailey, and that they're playing in Soldier Stadium, so the whole upper deck is not there. It could be cool this weekend up there, like it is here. So I think the crowd will be a little suppressed. I think a 3-2 victory is what I'm going to call for. I think this is a well coached team. I think they're still trying to find their way. They're playing very well, but we kind of cooled them off a little bit. I think. So I think we score enough to win, and I think it's going to be kind of like last year, where maybe we jump out to a lead and try to hold on. I hate white knuckle games, but that's what I kind of look at, and they are still a very well coached, well playing team. They play the press very well. I think we've kind of figured out a way to get away from that. So if we can neutralize their press, then they don't play as well, and they have hard times once they score. They have a hard time keeping the ball out of the back of the net. So I'm
Yeah,
going to say we jump out to an early lead and win 3-2. I'll take a 1-0 win. I'll take a 4-0 win. Uh, as long as we get those 3 points, that gets us really mid-table. And this is kind
hmm
of the season where, like, this is where, if you watch years back, that team up north, their first quarter to almost half of their season was miserable, and they suddenly in the second half of the season they kind of put it together, and then come playoff time, they're on all cylinders, but they're the sixth seed. I'm not necessarily saying we're going to be the sixth seed, but if we can sneak up on some people instead of being the front runners, I think that's going to be helpful.
yeah, absolutely.
So, any final thoughts before we get out of here, Andrew?
Final thoughts. Let's see. I don't know if I threw a score prediction out there, but I'll say a gutsy 1-0 win is what I'm going to go for in Chicago. Uh, Otherwise, hey, just as I've said before, stay the course. You know, this team, uh, they've not had the start that we all wanted, but there's no doubting their commitment to getting back on track, and I have full confidence that they're going to do whatever it takes to get that done. And I think we, may have very well seen that corner start to turn, like I said. So, it's always a great time repping the orange and blue, and I look forward to seeing them right back there. Top of the, I don't know about top of the table, but top of contention like they ought to be. So let's go FCC.
I think we're headed for some good times here just before the World Cup break. We'll see how they play after that, and maybe we'll put some details out later on. We still have a whole month left, um, but this team is scoring goals. This team is looking like they're not angry at each other. They've been playing for each other, even though we've been mad at them. So hopefully the defense kind of tightens up and we get a couple of calls and the pro referee just kind of stops actively hating us. I think we've got a really good shot to move up the table and kind of sneak up on some teams, particularly the second half of the season. So. Well, that's all the time we have here for FCC Supporter Square. I'm your host, Matt Warman, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome to FCC Supporter Square, the show for fans, by fans, and about fans. Here are your hosts, Mark Suppin and Matt Warman.